In one word, how would you describe your comedy?
Manic.
Silly.
Feminist, but kind of naughty and fun.
Musical.
Manic.
Shocking.
Eclectic.
Art.
Indecisive.
Concise.
Evolving. Feel good. Weird.
Fun. Surreal.
Hilarious.
Serious. Pissed off.
Self-deprecating.
Brilliant.
Pubescent.
Inane.
Surprising. Donut observation.
Oh, it's different.
Wordplay.
Incompetent.
Personal.
Energetic.
Conversational. Cheeky.
Chaos.
Underdog. Nerdy. Tentative.
Where do you get your motivation from? In particular, the motivation to just perpetuate the gigs.
Because I met up with Russell's agent, and he was saying basically you just got to keep going. Basically, just keep going. The more you do, the better you'll be, or the funnier you'll be. I think it might be a bit debatable, but yeah, he just said keep going. The more you do, the funnier you'll be. And I found that to be the case actually. Not blowing my own trumpet, but I just found not even being funny. It's just I think the more natural and comfortable you are, and you've got to be enjoying it as well. Because there was a time where I was like, why am I doing this? I'm not funny. I'm this and that. But I've just got to just get over myself really, and I'm just doing the best I can, just like everyone else really. So I really enjoy it at the moment. It's like
The good ones put you on such a high, and I think that's when I book my next God knows how many gigs. That's when I sit down and do all my writing. But having said that, the bad ones motivate you almost as much because you sort of go, well, I can't let that happen again. I've got to fix this shit. So I think gigging begets more gigging and writing begets more writing. And it's one of those things that it snowballs. And that's the lovely thing about it.
Having a really good gig as well, it's like, oh, this is so good, I want to be even better next time kind of thing. And oddly enough, having a bad gig as well motivates me, because it's kind of, like the first time I died on stage, I had a gig booked for the week afterwards, and I don't think I stopped rehearsing and planning for the days in between those two gigs, because I did so badly this last gig, I'm not going to let that happen again.
The MC has announced your name, okay? There is the cheer, there is the clapping, and there is noise everywhere. And you're reaching the stage, and by the time you touch the microphone, the noise starts dying down, and there is a moment of silence between the cheering, the stops, and your first word, in which you're about to tell an audience of people who has never seen you before, this is going to be funny. That is the moment I live for right now when it's a gig. Like, it doesn't matter if it's great when the gigs goes well, and it's horrible when the gigs goes bad, but that's not the important part. The important part is facing that moment and trying and get the key to make them laugh.
My motivation comes from giving up a little. Does that make sense? Like, giving up on the idea of fame. Because in comedy there's two, right? There's the art and the business. I gave up on the business. Not really gave up, but I'm focused more on the art now than I am on the business. The business will come. If you get really, really good, the agents will chase you, and I'd rather have that.
I kind of feel that I'm progressing slowly. So it's something to work towards. I know some people are like out every single night gigging, and I think it's important to have to do other stuff as well. But it's good to have a hobby. It's good to have a project. Exactly like this.
You do it because you enjoy it. You do it because you like acting like an idiot on stage. You do it because it's the only way you know you can express yourself. I think that's the only thing that's going to keep you motivated to do it. And sometimes when you see an act on stage and they've lost the love for it, you feel it, the audience feels it, and you don't go with them on the little journey, the little story you want to take people on. So I think, motivation just comes out of a love for comedy, a love for performance, a love for seeing other people perform and not just being caught up in your own shit.
Performance in general, before I did this, I was a singer-songwriter, well, I still am a singer-songwriter, and I was a drum and bass MC, is what I made my money doing when I was in uni. So being out and performing and doing some kind of performance, creative performance, I've been very comfortable since, my first stage I was 13 with a song that I'd written in a club that they had to get me a special licence to be in a club under 18 and stuff. So it's the joy of just being on stage and showing something that you've created from the ether is it's a buzz like no other,
I guess what motivates me is that I had the realization that this is who I am. That it hasn't taken me 30 years to become a clown. It's taken me 30 years to come to terms with the fact that I am a clown, and that there are legitimate outlets for that, and it's not, you know, and I have had people in multiple jobs, you know, non-consecutively say, like, you're wasted here, you should be doing something else. And after the third or fourth time that somebody said that to me, I was like, maybe I should be doing something else. And I always felt like I should, you know, I always wanted to create.
The fact that I don't want to do an office job for the rest of my life, I find that boring. I enjoy being on stage and making people laugh, and it's just really fun. Like, I want a job that's fun and creative, and I get to say what I want and people listen.
What motivates me to want to go up there is just like, wow, these things that should probably be really painful experiences to me are actually really funny if you look at them in the right light. And I guess the motivation also from the other side comes from just wanting to spread joy and spread goodness. And I would really like at some point to be a good enough comedian that I can have some sort of message. Like, you know, George Carlin, for example, just has an amazing message most of the time, you know, he's very smart. Jim Jeffries, that whole gun bit that's going around right now, you know, that's been around for 3 or 4 years. Brilliant bit, hilarious, and also just has a ridiculously good message. And so I would like to be able to, I mean, that's really my dream as a stand-up, is to be able to be one of those people who goes up there, makes people laugh, and also tells a bunch of people how fucking stupid they are.
Stand-up's all I really want to do, you know? So, like, whenever I've got a job, it's only ever been to pay my way. I've never had a job where I've wanted to be promoted, or I've wanted to stay, or I've been so transient with, I've had like 10 in the last 2 years, you know, just floating through things, because my motivation to, like, do things that aren't comedy is really weak. But then sometimes my motivation to do comedy can be weak as well. It's only when I occasionally look around and go, like, am I working a 9-to-5 job and not even doing comedy? Like, what the fuck is happening at the moment? You know, I have these little bursts where I go, like, hang on, I'm just fucking getting up at 8 and having breakfast and living like a normal person. This isn't what I intended to do. And that's when the motivation for comedy kicks in and goes, like, you're a weirdo, remind people. And then, you know, you start booking gigs again.
It's the community, I think. No one would do it if they didn't have friends on the set. They enjoy seeing them, talking to them, just having a laugh afterwards, and I think that's pretty much what brings everyone in. Just a majority of comedians, just to talk to other comedians and just compliment each other, sort of have a bit of banter. And it's very interesting how sort of the face-to-face interaction with comedians is always really polite and nice, but then there's this horrific board that everyone's heard of called the which really draws out the worst in a lot of comedians, I find. Like, I find I'm very upset by what certain comedians are saying to each other on the board, and I feel like they're just taking comedy too seriously for something that should be fun, and it's become too intense for a lot of people who accuse each other of plagiarism. But I don't know, I think that's just the internet in general, just people just like to be shocked and out. But the circuit itself is very lovely, and I think people need to spend less time online and just talking to each other.
I can't sit down and write a joke out. It's not the way I work. I can write out ideas, but I have to work it out on stage, and I have to workshop it, and I need that response. And so if I'm not on stage and I'm not performing, I don't get that response, which means I don't get to create, which means that it affects, the whole thing tumbles down. So to me, the concept of not performing, like these people who do 1 or 2 shows a week, God bless them for being able to do it. I can't do it. I have to be out. If I had my way, I'd do 3 shows a night every night of the week. Every night to different audiences, like different kinds of audiences, because the challenge of it is what motivates me. The challenge not just of performing and making people laugh, because making people laugh isn't that hard. It's doing it for the right reasons in a way that is satisfying to you. The biggest joke in stand-up comedy is that the audience thinks we're there to entertain them, and we're not. They're there to entertain us. That's what it's about. They're there to keep me from yelling at people at a bus stop. That's all they're there for.
I used to work with bands quite a bit, work with young bands to book their tours and stuff, so I've always had that. Now instead of them being the artist, I'm the artist and I'm the manager as well. So Graham Goddard is booking gigs for us down fast. the same person.
The idea that I have to like spend my life doing a real job. I think that's the big motivation. I got to make this shit work because I can't. I got a pretty big hole in my resume now that I can't really like. It's difficult to jump back on it. And the idea of sitting in a cubicle or swinging a hammer for 10 hours a day doesn't really appeal to me anymore.
Really, if I could have arms long enough to like hug the world and squeeze the bullshit out, that would be my only achievement. But if I can't, I try and do it with laughter and kindness. Excuse me. So, to kind of answer your question, my only inspiration is, or motivation is to try and basically test my limit in that, to how many people I can reach and how many people I can convince to be kind and be happy and just let's make this world a fun place for hopefully when my kids are, alive.
90% of it, I do it because I love doing it. I'm not chasing fame or chasing money. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, I wouldn't like. I've had gigs before where they try to exploit me, and I wouldn't do it out of principle because I don't want people to exploit. Do you know what I mean? But ultimately, I do it for the love, and it's a laugh. That's what it is. I think there's a lot of serious people in comedy. I don't get that. Do you know what I mean? But they probably don't get why I fuck about all through my life and don't care about politics and everything and serious stuff. I've always fucked about. It's quite a natural thing for me. I love it.
Well, my name's Lenny Sherman. As you can see, I'm quite a big, working class, cockney kind of geezer. So a lot of people presume that I've read The Sun, The Star, or the Daily Sport. Well, I've got news for them people. I can't read. Yeah, good crowd, good crowd. But I'm not into the old political correctness these days. Just the other night, I met up with my gay, black, Asian, Jewish and disabled mates. We went ginger bashing. No offence, mate. Political correctness, eh? I went to a rough school in the East End of London, some bastards.
How would you compare, like, say, emceeing a night to doing a regular spot, like, particularly in terms of like how you structure your material?
I try. MCing is a very different game. It's kind of apples and pears thing. When you're doing a set, you get up there and you've got your set, the beginning, middle, end. It's structured. You know where your laughs are. You know where you're going to start. You know what that's building to. You know the bits you can riff off the audience with, and you know exactly where you're going to finish. MCing, I try not to do material MCing. I will occasionally do some material MCing if somebody's bombed and you need to kind of bring the mood of the room back up, or if somebody's tackled a subject clumsily. Recently there was somebody at JMB tackled a race issue, but they did it in a real ham-fisted manner that left the room a little bit ill at ease. And when something like that happens, you've got to heal the room. You've got to bring the room back into being a gang of people.
Is to have like a really friendly atmosphere, so that not just the comedians feel comfortable knowing that they're not going into a hostile environment, but also the audience feel comfortable and that they think, oh yeah, that was a really, really nice, enjoyable night out. I'd definitely go back, rather than there being like a kind of hostile, uncomfortable atmosphere.
And what I mean by that is that basically I started off being a kind of doing my MCing and just doing like little parts of the routine. So I'd take a bit from my routine and use that here, and take a bit and I use that there. And as I've become more confident, and as I've had a little bit more, I have to say, tuition in that particular area, I've also found that I can work off the moment a little bit more. So I will try and pick up on something in the audience. I will try and have a conversation with somebody. I'll have to do some more interaction. And so as I'm getting more confident, and I'm getting also better at that, because you can be lousy at that too, I'm finding I'm doing less material, which is, I think, the right way to go. But every now and again, if somebody doesn't have such a good situation on stage, then I will come back in with something I know that makes people laugh.
Our comedy circ, I compare with Graham, aka Standfast, and we've got a great relationship going where it's going. If I'm doing terrible, which normally happens, I've got Graham there to throw in a joke, throw in some music, or to either or. Because we've got a great thing here, we've got an opportunity. Whenever it goes to go a dip, at least one of us can jump into the net and boom.
I don't schedule any material as an MC. I don't have a plan at all. Unless sometimes I would schedule it. If I've got a new bit that I want to try out, I might have a vague plan on how I'm going to shoehorn it in. Or it might be that there's an actor who's asked me to do a piece of material because it gives them a chance to raise the subject. So, especially if you're doing a new material night and one of the actors has written a new routine about going to the bank, it's really great if the MC can kind of make a joke about going to the bank, and then it gives them the freedom to go, oh, I was at the bank last week, and it doesn't seem so unnatural for them to be trying out material. So, but other than that, I don't prepare anything if I'm MCing. I mean, I kind of ask if there's anything that the promoter wants me to plug or mention or say or not say, and that's it. And then I just go on and see what happens. It's often something happens that does lead to me doing a piece of material, but I don't schedule it like that.
With a straight set, you should basically plan it. You should at the very least have some bullet points in your head of like, okay, this is what I'll probably close on, this is what I'm going to be opening with, and then we'll see how it goes in the middle. That in my view is the absolute minimum you should do. With MCing, I think you need to be a lot more fluid. You need to be able to free yourself to do some crowd work, to be able to have a chat with people, but at the same time you need to have some bankable material like in the tank and ready to go, because your job is to warm the audience up and make them laugh, but it's also to keep the energy up and keep the tone reasonably light and enjoyable and fun.
It's strange because a lot of I know a few people that go on and just do the whole set. I sometimes it depends. You can usually tell how bored I am by if I'm doing material when I'm MCing. If I'm doing material when I'm MCing, I don't really like the audience that much. I'm just kind of trying to kill time. But I do. It's good bantering with the audience when you're MCing as well, just because it kind of loosens yourself up as well, and then you make it a unique experience for them. Because otherwise, I may as well just watch fucking TV.
I really like comparing because I love improvising, I love people, I love talking to them, and then I think a compere should big his or her acts up. I think they should make the comedians feel good. Because as a comedian myself, I noticed the amount of times MCs made me feel like shit and didn't give me a decent introduction, or were playing all kinds of mindfuck games, which some of them do. That I thought, if I MC, I don't want to be like that. I want to big up all my comedians, give them a good introduction, and then have something to say afterwards about, that we all can relate to things. So you can always find an anecdote to fit in with some of the material that the person did, and not just sit there doing your old material. What's the point of that?
When it is structured, which is occasionally, then it'll kind of be, this joke, with space in between for me to dick around and have fun.
MCing, for a start, I keep it clean. Because no comedian wants to come on when I've already dropped a couple of C-bombs, done anything that they might want to do to shock an audience. I have to leave that for them. I can't have done that for them. So when I MC, it's completely clean, and it's all about energy rather than material. It sounds weird, but the MC's got to try not to be too funny, because he's not there to be funny as much as he's there to present the comedians to be funny. So it's just all about energy and keeping it clean, whereas my stand-up stuff is completely different and not clean.
MCing a gig I've found difficult because a regular spot I feel you can structure your set, you can know exactly pretty much what you're going to go into, and you can decide when to have the audience interaction. Whereas MCing, for me, I'm good at it if I don't try to be good at it, if that makes sense. So you've got to just be really relaxed and be who you are. Which I found very uncomfortable the first couple of times, because I wanted to be funny, I wanted to be as good as my act was.
It makes you more comfortable the more you do it. Like, the more you MC, the more you become more comfortable on the stage, because it does teach you to reach out to audiences in ways that you don't do during your normal set. So I think MCing for me was great because it did make me a bit calmer on stage before I went up to Edinburgh, and it prepared me just a little bit more for the kind of back and forth I was going to have with the crowds up there.
The good compares they've got their material in the bank, but it comes out in a completely natural way. So essentially they go out just to chat with the audience, and if something comes up that's relevant, then they can go back to their material and pull that out. But I don't think you go in with a plan.
Cause people look at me and some of them think that I'm crazy. It doesn't faze me. Watch me as I ride on my bike with no lights in the night. People think I'm fucking mental, but that's just what I'm like. I can cross roads at crazy angles, and when I see it raining I just slip on my sandals. If I had a baby daughter I would call her Nathaniel. I'm a nutter. Out of my mind. I don't eat roast dinner on a Sunday evening. I saw The Matrix Reloaded at the very first screening. I could eat a banana without fucking peeling. I'm a nutter. Nutter, nutter,